skyrocketed. So a $600 pension 10, 15 years ago won't buy much of anything here today.
And why the millennial generation is starting to give up because they can't afford to get a good job or own a house.
8 million Venezuelans voting for this assembly, saying it's actually less than 3.
It is. And people are going to start rioting in the streets.
Was reported to have asked Putin for military support that would help him stay in power.
We will make America safe again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
And they ignore him. And 8 more years goes by till Bernie himself finally admits to his sons, hey, I've been running a Ponzi scheme.
Does its dominance mean it can use the alliance for its own ends?
Since 1981, bond yields, also known as coupon rates, have just gone down and down and down.
Federal Reserve note will be your biggest financial liability.
Alrighty, we're live. RTD Live Talk. What's going on, people? Wanted to just check in this evening. Wasn't able to actually get into the full-fledged scope of the news today, but I figure why not check in with you guys and see what's happening out here, what's new, and get your thoughts on the video I did earlier about the importance of betting against the Fed, because those that continue to play by the same outdated rules as was commonplace prior to the Great Recession will definitely be burned in the days ahead because of this whole experiment that's starting to crumble. The more I listen to Jerome Powell as he tried to answer questions, he just basically confirms that, he does not know exactly how this will play out, and they don't know really what they're doing. And so, we can fall victim to this, but get your weight up, people. That's the best option thus far, amongst other things. But if that being the case, welcome to RTD Live Talk. My name is Mike, the host of RTD Live Talk. There's a number above my head, 313-462-0027. Give me a call. Let me know what's on your mind, what news is out there, worth talking about. And then here in the chat, any new viewers, feel free to let me know where you're watching from, and I will definitely acknowledge your presence this evening. And so let me check in with the chat. We got Spirit King. We got Scott. Blunt News says BTC is hot. Very true. About to surpass, what is it? I think about 12,000 it looks like, in a minute, if not already. Hernan, how you doing, my friend? Student of life. Russia defending Iran. So Blunt News, let me know what's going on. What's the latest on Russia, apart from them having a missile cruiser in the port in Havana. That's definitely some interesting news there. Says gold, buy the dip. What's hot? Bitcoin. Says hi everybody. BTC Canada homie. How you doing? Just got in. Kenneth, you haven't missed much. We just logging in. We got Thomas from Green Bay. Jacob says, Mike, what's up? An insight on Crown Castle with the new 5G evolution. The 5G evolution. I actually posted a video from a gentleman. I don't know his name, but it was recommended to me. At the Facebook page on Rethinking a Dollar. And so the video is about an actual person who climbed the pole installing satellites and cellular service, and he was talking about some of the dangers of 5G and things that has him concerned. So for those that are interested, go to the Facebook page /Rethinking a Dollar. You can check that out. We got Chicago. Blunt News got an article for us. Stock. Said, did you see the Philadelphia plant explosion? I did not see it. I think I saw some videos from it. Is that the one that happened? I think it was end of last week, I believe. So I, other than just seeing some videos, didn't really do much diving into it. And so what I want to do, have a little article here. Let's check in with this article. Let me see where we go. Where'd the article go? All right, so here's an article sent to us. Let's check it out. So this one here says, Merrill Lynch caught criminally manipulating precious metals market thousands of times over 6 years. And that's one of the things where we all have watched how over and over again the too big to fail banks get caught up in some type of rigging, or what you call it, rigging, damn, I can't think of all the names of crimes that has been committed. But yet, once again, without even reading this article, they'll get a fine, $100 million fine, and get suspended from this and that for doing something temporarily. But yet, once again, this is just how it goes. So this is just more evidence on how we know the precious metals prices are altered and suppressed and intentionally held from reaching fair market value. And so once again, it just plays into the importance of metals, especially in this time frame. So appreciate you sharing that. But once again, it's one of the things where we all know that things are not what they appear to be on the surface. So it's quite unfortunate. But once again, regardless of the price, right now is probably the best time for possession of those things, given the fact that I've been reading about, I think it was, who was it? Craig Hemke mentioned something about the COMEX and deliveries about to have some issues. I think it was by this Friday or something like that. So, not sure what that is, but we got another article here. And so appreciate the articles. Let's keep them rolling for those that have your eyes on the prize. It says Russia warns U.S. and Israel that Iran is its ally and was right about drone shoot down. Drone shot down. So with that being the case, yeah, and so we'll just talk about the drone being shot down. So here we go. There's, I think it was one of the Iranian foreign ministers or whoever, posted an image. Couldn't really tell what was what. It was, a lot of lines or whatever. But here we have a drone shot down. Apart from the obvious question is, if it wasn't for the U.S., having a presence all over the planet, most people would question, why would you have your personal spyware flying over the backyard or on the other side of the fence of someone else's property without them actually being concerned and just allowing you to fly in or near their airspace, to where that itself is like, it's, you shouldn't really be mad if something gets shot down, because what are you doing in their neck of woods anyway? And so, primary example of the feeling of being, having your space invaded. So now we have a Russian ship in the port of Havana. Therefore, whatever reasons, we're told that, they have good relations with Cuba. But more importantly, we'll see how the U.S. responds, because for the longest, because of this whole threat of the, Cold War and, nuclear threat, they've painted Russia to be the primary enemy. So the U.S. and NATO has positioned missiles and defense systems pointing towards Russia for the longest. But now we have a missile launcher, a little ship of, I'm not sure if it's nuclear or whatever it is, but there's a ship in our backyard, basically not too far from Florida, and I'm assuming they would have the capabilities of, extending some things up into the mainland. And so I wonder, how does Washington, D.C. feel about having somebody in their backyard in their so-called space? We get to encroach on other people's territory, but yet when someone does it to us, do we have that same level of calmness that those other nations have? So, but we will soon find out. We will soon find out. What we say here says, hey, Precious Metals update says, hey, everything out, and everyone in the chat, how you doing, my friend? It says, what empire has won a major war in a hemisphere other than their own? Yeah. And so we're going to see how this whole Russia being in our backwaters or in our backyard, how that plays out. We got JJ from Toronto. How you doing this evening? Blunt News said Iran gave 2 warnings before they shot. Yeah, and it looks like those warnings were not heeded to, and the things were shot down. And, what's interesting is how the drone was probably strategically placed as close to the line as possible, and they ignored the warnings. And it's one of the things where it just shows a lack of respect for that other sovereign nation there, to where, it's good to, I'm kind of torn between this, because I don't want war, but yet a part of me is tired of hearing about how much the United States government and our military forces appear to be imposing our will upon the world, and if they don't abide by our rules, then we go bomb them. So I personally am tired of hearing about that, because it really paints the Americans in a very bad light, even though a lot of people know it's not necessarily majority of the population. There's the warmongering individuals and the those of higher echelon of society that want war because, once again, it's profitable. So I also heard from Alicio, another YouTuber, about one of the signs that you can kind of read into that tells you when war is coming is that you look at some of the stock prices of some of the what's it called, the like Lockheed Martin and some of the military providing companies out there. I can't think of more names of them, but when their stock starts to go up, that means that war is usually looming. And he used a couple other wars that we've been in where when their stock prices goes up, the result of that was war. So, and as of what he showed in the video a while back, the stock price definitely jumped up. So he was predicting that possible war is in the mix. It says Google Operation Flowers. Let me see what that's all about. Google Operation Flowers are blooming. Operation Flowers are blooming, and it was the name of an operation by Indian Navy to help avert a threatened coup against the government of President France in 1986, 1980s. Modi to the land where Indian safe. Okay. All right, so that's something I could definitely check into. Appreciate the heads up on that. Then we got Ledger X will offer the satisfaction of Bitcoin future payments in Bitcoin. Yeah, so I saw something about that. So I wondered, is that is something to do with the price spike, or is it more to it? But I haven't really dived into it. But I'm not, I once again, when we have futures, and it looks like they're going to actually have Bitcoin itself in trading. But it's one of the things where, how long will that last? That's one thing that concerns me, because everything starts off being backed or deliverable until there's a run or until there's a scramble for the actual item itself. And then they say, hold on, we can't settle contracts or whatever. So now will you take cash? So that would be one thing I'm concerned about. But assuming you can't do business unless you bring some Bitcoins to the table. So we'll see. We will see. Interest payments will surpass tax revenue soon, it seems. Spirit King says interest payments will surpass tax revenue soon. That is something that, I do believe is very likely. Let me see what tax revenue, look up. So here we have the USDebtClock.org, a good indicator of our financial dealings for this country. So let me see where we're looking at. Income tax revenue is 1.7. And then we have interest payments. Let me see. Interest payments, where is that at? Total savings, we got U.S. interest paid. So, whoa. U.S. total interest paid, it says 3.1 trillion. Includes household. No, it's household. Nope, that's wrong. That's wrong. What are we looking at? Net interest on debt, 367 trillion? No. Billion. 367 billion. Yeah, we're going to have some issues. There will be some accounting problems currently happening right now, in my opinion. But they're going to try to paper over it as always. And then according to watching Jerome Powell about being the last resort, they're going to become the first and only, because they will begin to buying debt directly or monetizing debt directly. And then there goes the dollar or the Federal Reserve note. Operation Flowers, Israel and Iran weapons deal. Fair play to Iran, good shot. It says the U.S. is poking people and trying to start a fight, definitely. It says 3,000 missile takes down $250 million drone. War with Iran won't be fast or easy. $3,000 missile. Yeah, that's interesting. Tony, how you doing, my friend? It says the Russian hypersonic nuclear missiles on their ships can't be intercepted. Peter. Oh, man, that's the real deal there. And I think I've mentioned this several times before. One of my concerns about us actually getting into a scrap or a scuffle or a missile exchange with China or Russia is the fact that I don't think our technology is really nowhere near up to date to compete. So imagine a bully that's getting beat up badly, how desperate they may be to try to deliver that final knockout or that final blow. And unfortunately, on our part, if we find ourselves, and I even hate talking about this, but if we find ourselves in a situation where we're in a scuffle, we're not winning, what do you think? What do you think the powers that be will try to do to try to end the fight? And that's the scary part, because when all options are lost, it's that option that I hope doesn't ever present itself, because if it does, there's no winners ultimately. None at all. It says it can be intercepted with laser tech. Captain James, we will, I ain't gonna say we will find out about laser tech, but I hope we don't go that route. But it's either that route or they let this thing come crumbling down, and I believe it'll probably be the first one. It says ENS Energy will be the company making the chips for 5G towers. Really? Let me look this up. I'm interested to find out about that. Intersys. Let me see. Let me Intersys. I'm type in 5G. 5G. See what comes up. Any developments here? Earnings. 5G. Look at Verizon Energy. 5G. Tease up. I don't see anything referring to 5G from the news. Let me see here. But I wouldn't doubt that the U.S., since it looks like with the whole Huawei 5G scramble, we're behind the 8 ball with that. So I would imagine that they're going to roll out some technology to get that 5G stuff going. But we will see. What else is going on out here? So the anti-missile system that the U.S. sold the Saudis are reported to only work 1/10 of the time. Not good. And so you talk about missile defense systems. I read an article, I think it was a couple days ago, about the U.S. Really encouraging Turkey to make sure they do not buy that S-400 system. And so they're really adamant on they do not want nations to purchase the S-400 Russian missile defense system. So my question to you guys is, why not? Is it because it's of good quality, or it is something that the U.S. can't go around if they want to bomb or begin targeting some locations within those areas that are protected by it? I imagine it makes it very difficult. Clayton Hufford says, silver prices will remain low for a while. I think the problem is the economic downturn will drag the price down. Silver won't really blow up until its monetary use exceeds its industrial use. Clayton, apart from just my personal opinion on, precious metals in general, I think right now the current price of both primary monetary metals, gold and silver, are probably as cheap as they're going to be for quite some time, given the fact that I believe we're all anticipating this monetary experiment to come to an end, or to really hit some major problems where monetary policy exposes the errors and the problems with fiat currencies in general, especially when quantitative easing officially is launched. And so I can see people losing confidence in paper. Therefore, it'd be hard for the prices and things that are scarce, have monetary properties, and meet the qualities of a sound currency to not appreciate in nominal terms in reference to Federal Reserve notes. And more importantly, just look at all the currencies around the world that's having problems. I think I heard something about there's 70 currencies that when you price or compare those in price to metals, all those metals have appreciated substantially. And even I have some followers in Australia, and someone sent me a message showing me the actual price tag of an ounce of gold right now in Australia is at 2,000 Australian dollars, which is a relatively newer high there. So everywhere in the world, for the most part, except the Federal Reserve, except here in the U.S., are people really starting to notice the price increase in metals. And so I don't think it'll be long before you can, hide that from people here, apart from those that know what gold and silver actually are. But I think there's still a lot of people who have no clue. So yeah, ultimately, get your weight up now, 100%. Blunt News says gold, BTC, silver in that order. Gold, BTC, silver in that order. That's a personal preference, Blunt. It depends on, at the end of the day, when you're looking at a world that's flooded with paper, that's going to be flooded with paper and digits, there will be no order to having something that's scarce. Like, I really, really, really want to drive home the importance of focusing on scarcity in a world where we're about to experience an abundance of currency that will be brought into circulation to try to provide liquidity for a failing banking system, a deficit spending governmental system. And you factor in the government, pretty soon they're going to have to address what they're currently doing now. They're going to have to address the issues with the portion of the population that is in demand right now for payouts in the form of retirement and Medicare and all the expenditures, Social Security checks, and all those expenditures that are about to really, impact the government spending there. And that's all without even talking about a stock market correction or a bond meltdown. So yeah, anything that's scarce that is able to be exchanged and able to retain some type of value, it will be of importance regardless of the order. Dave says Harvey Organ says $20 silver bust the banks. Yeah, I saw that article. I saw the video by Paul. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, and so I definitely will check it out. But yet, $20 silver. It would have caused problems for a lot of people outside of just the banks, I would imagine. But to my knowledge, I believe, somebody let me know if I'm wrong, but I believe J.P. Morgan is probably sitting on the largest known silver hoard of anybody. So I don't think it's going to hurt them. But I could be wrong. Venezuela is in terrible shape, 100%. And so one thing I want to bring to you guys' attention, let me actually pull it up here. And so there's a YouTuber, a travel blog that I follow, and the individual is currently not there, but he was in Venezuela, and he has a series of videos. And so I'm actually I want to direct it to you guys' attention because, yeah, it has approximately, 400 and some views, 400 and some thousand views, but it's a very good video series. And so here's a video here. It's Inside Venezuela is the name of it, and this came out, like 5 days ago, and he just released a video today. So I'll share this with you because I definitely would encourage everybody to watch this because it's very, very eye-opening. And it's current, so a lot of people say that we're not getting the best news or whatnot from that part of the world, but yet this guy just recently left there and he's releasing his series. He's there for 2 weeks, and so I would encourage you guys to check out the video there, and especially today's video, because in today's video he was actually he was actually touring the slums or the favelas there in Venezuela. So it's it's an interesting story, man. When you look at stuff like that, you just got to count your blessings because we are, regardless of all the stuff we experience here, we still are in the greatest nation on the planet for now. So definitely very grateful for that. It says BTC is as scarce as it gets. I would agree. Wholeheartedly. Says Powell sent a signal today he is not willing to destroy the dollar to pay for a war. I'm not expecting a rate cut at all this year. Word. Jesse James, really? As far as a rate cut, one thing that concerns me about Jerome Powell is the fact that now the central bank is out and look like they're open to ideas, or they're trying to position themselves as we care about the people's opinion type of entity when they've already ran the course of, this current debt model that we're under. Like, the reason we're having so many issues is because the Federal Reserve as a institution is designed to support and sustain and to grow the banking sector, which they've done a very good job of that by basically, bailing out the banks. And people don't really realize that all 12 banks have direct ties to all of the too big to fail banks, because the Federal Reserve is a independent, whatever, private institution, but yet they not pride themselves on, but each bank is independent of itself to where they actually have shareholders into those individual banks. And who are the shareholders in each one of the 12 banks? They are the commercial banks themselves. So the top 6 or 7 banks are all part owners, in a sense, of those banks. So you got to think about it. Not only have the too big to fail banks been beneficiaries of the bailout through the quantitative easing and the removal of all those fraudulent assets they created and sold to the Fed, but they got that stuff taken off their balance sheet, and they got some liquidity that they parked at the Fed. But also a part of that, interest, a little bit of interest they earn or whatever, that they're not allowed to lend out. On the other end, each bank has a stake in the actual bank that it's invested in as far as shares itself. So the Feds also kick money to the shareholders in the form of those commercial banks. So it's a win-win-win all the way around for the banking sector. And that's right there is basically what the Federal Reserve Central Bank was designed to do, which was to utilize the credit of our government, indebting Uncle Sam to the wazoo, all while basically being able to use that credit to lend to Uncle Sam and get back the proceeds minus the interest, because we can't pay the interest because you need to borrow more to pay back the interest, at the cost of acquiring tangible assets such as mortgage-backed securities, bonds, and it's pretty soon they're about to get into equities directly and everything else they're about to start buying. So those all will belong to who? A private institution. But once again, I'm rambling. Forgive me. It said, let me see. It says food, 11 states flooded, prep. Typo, 100%. It says unfunded liabilities are like 200 trillion, pensions, etc. No chance of paying all that. No doubt. So there will be a haircut. There will be a major haircut. Yeah. And so Typo says, what is the name of the channel? It's called, the YouTube channel is called Indigo Traveler. And I'll actually, I'll grab it if I can. So I'll put the YouTube channel name in the chat here. And so the name Indigo Traveler is a gentleman, and his most 2 recent videos are the videos I'm referring to. It says, Mike, all central banks work together. The Fed needs to be 100%. Dang, my ink won't show what is good cause. Banking sector, the sector that produces nothing for society and somehow are the richest of all of us. Inflation brings down the dollar 100%. Says U.S. taxpayer is responsible for all government debt. This is all one massive theft and setup. Very true. And another part of the conversation or the speech that was given today by Jerome Powell, because they keep talking about inflation. And so there's 5 or 6 main points that Jerome Powell's continue to, just pound in. It has to do with the so-called mandate for stable prices, which they say is 2% inflation. They call that stable when that's actually 2% of devaluation off the currency. And so if people really could understand, I'm trying to find ways to really drive home the dangers of not adjusting to this new monetary paradigm we're in a world where, as Leo Gantz mentioned yesterday, quantitative easing will become the new norm. And so knowing that it's going to become the new norm, that's basically saying that they're going to begin creating more debt units than they have in the past. And people are still going to be saving, living up off some things, using them to invest as opposed to using them to buy tangible assets. But we have a call. Let's see what's going on. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Mike, Tony from Oakland. How's it going, brother?
I'm doing good, my friend. How are you doing?
Oh, not too bad, man. Are we on MMT yet?
So we are on MMT, and I think and I believe it's not ramped up the way that it's going to be, but according to MMT, the way that we know it, it's already the government borrowing money to put into circulation. They just haven't done it directly to the people yet, and I think that's the final phase of the MMT.
Well, me and Jesse James seem to be on the same page. They got a long way to run with this thing, and
yeah.
what they call it, Japanomics, Japanomics.
Yeah.
I think that's the way we're headed.
Yeah.
And I don't think they really care about the bonds. They wasn't trying to keep it afloat. But if you're the cleanest shirt in the dirty laundry, why would you lower interest rates? You just keep the same. It's called the dollar milkshake theory, and I mentioned this the last time I was on the show, and I'm gonna mention it again.
Yeah, please do.
And what the U.S. is doing is just soaking up that they flooded the market.
Mm-hmm.
It started out at 5,000 when they started flooding the market, and now we're up to 26,000, almost 27,000, and they've got to draw that money back out of the market.
Mm-hmm.
So. And I think it's just them sucking through the straw, and just everybody else is just going, hey, we give up. And it's like Mexico. Mexico's like, well, that's the lesser of two evils. We got to deal with what the U.S. says.
Yeah.
And so they're just getting the liquidity out.
Yeah. Now watch this. You said they're trying to suck back out that liquidity from where?
From the injection that they put in 2008.
Yeah. Now that was supposed to be quantitative tightening, which they were starting to do, but going to officially stop that if they haven't already. I think they gave a time frame. They say September or something like that. They're going to stop, selling or stop selling back onto the market those mortgage-backed securities.
Right, allegedly, but you would never know what their black book looked like.
Yeah, good point. Because I think they stopped reporting on their balance sheet up to date. They stopped keeping up to date or something like that. I heard they were doing so. Yeah, but here's the thing. I think, when they talk about, I saw an article yesterday about the stress test for the banks. I think either that just occurred or they're about to do another one, and they're talking about capital for the banks. Now, whatever those stress tests is, we know that it's not going to reveal anything that will expose the criminality behind that system. So they're going to say that there's enough liquidity in case there's banking issues. But when you have, 1.6 or so trillion in cash and 30 trillion or so in digital illusions of wealth, if people start to want to cash out of their CDs, their 401k, all those financial instruments, don't you think that'll create somewhat of a liquidity crunch? And they got the cash has to come from somewhere. People trying to get liquid.
Oh, the banks are full of liquidity.
Where's it at?
Banks are full of.
How much? Enough to cover enough to cover their liabilities at 100%.
I don't hear the banks squeaking.
Yeah.
and if you want to withdraw that liquidity, where are you going to put it in? Stock market? Where are you going to put this liquidity? You can't. They're squeezing you right into where they need you.
Yeah. So
it's those things where we got to hold on to what we know, which is gold and silver.
Mm-hmm.
And I ain't a big fan of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Because it isn't backed by anything.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just the way it's going to be, man. And we got this thing is if Japan can go 200% of GDP and we're only at 150,
mm-hmm.
It's a long ways off, maybe a year or two.
Now, I think, without even knowing the fullest extent of Japan, but Japan is always referred to. But the only issue with Japan, comparing ourselves to them, is the fact that Japan is not the reserve currency. And Japan does not rely upon the world to lend to them because the Bank of Japan itself has already bought up 50% of the equity market, 50% of the bonds. And so as of now, the world used dollars as reserves. And so the question would be, if the Fed starts to just solely monetize or just provide liquidity for the government itself, wouldn't it be a concern with all those other trillions of dollars that's out there? Nations will not necessarily need or want to hold those things if they know that they no longer have value because the Fed will just begin creating them to fund Uncle Sam's problems. So won't them things come back or be problematic?
If you're on my Swiss system, you're going to do what I say.
I don't know. I believe personally, if I was China, for example, I'm not sure what they're currently sitting on, but we hear more and more articles about them liquidating their treasuries, and they're buying tangible assets or investing them in their Belt and Road Initiative or investing in African projects or whatnot. So they're spending them things. And so if everybody begins to spend, would not because inflation and would not come back here to roost? Because I'm assuming they're going to be buying things on mainland here, right?
True. And then the government will suck that up, and then you won't see the inflation, just like in Japan. Because we're the lender of last resort. If I don't show you what my hand is, you still think you got it.
Yeah, so basically, in order for that to work, the Federal Reserve have to remain very stealth in their operations.
Right.
So I think they can try that, but along the way, go ahead. Go ahead.
Everything's great, and the only way that this thing is going to blow up is once the dollar starts increasing and inflating. Like I had mentioned before, if a dollar gets to 106, 106, 107, 108, then people are just going to say, hey, I'll just divert to my own currency. And everybody's got their own currency they can divert into and use the gold bracket.
Yeah. That would be very interesting. That would be very interesting because a lot of people say the dollar, will continue to strengthen or it's going to go down. But once again, Trump don't want a strong dollar, so Trump going to tweet something that's going to drop that dollar real quick. So,
well, we don't know what Trump wants really. But I think he's trying to play that middle card, and it's a dangerous game he's playing because he plays both sides of the fence, and you can't do that.
Yeah.
And it's going to come back to bite him, and maybe with Iran because they just shut us off completely.
Yeah.
But I think if we continue to do what we're doing, keep the dollar at 97, 96, 99, 98, somewhere around in that range, everybody's still going to want the dollar. It's when the dollar starts to get too expensive to use is when they'll go away from it.
Yeah, my only concern, not my only concern, but something that I would definitely keep an eye on is the fact that we know that all the countries as well as corporations that borrowed at much lower borrowing costs. And so if the dollar strengthens and it puts pressure on those local currencies, then I can see a lot of defaults, and I foresee the recession, depression, or whatever it's going to be labeled happening somewhere else and then making its way back here, and that will then definitely impact the markets here, which the Fed going to have to respond some way or another to keep confidence. So the domino is going to fall somewhere else and it's going to trickle back here, and that's why I can say that I believe the Fed will drop and then begin direct stimulus of some kind, because they got to keep face, because we've started the problems, but other nations will be the ones that finish it. It's going to all come back to haunt the Fed because they are the biggest central bank because of their dollar for now. But yeah, we will see.
But you're saying that like you believe the markets are real.
Oh no, they're not real at all.
So they can do whatever they want with the market.
Right, but here's the thing.
And they can do whatever they want with gold. All they have to do is paper over it. Like you said earlier, if somebody's Venezuela's currency or whoever it was is $2,000 an ounce.
Yeah.
Where we just now sitting at $1,400. Which is it?
Yeah. So watch this. But Australia, for example, I've not dived into it 100%, but to my knowledge, they are already officially, give or take, in recessionary type of an environment. They have all the same issues, all the asset bubbles, whatever, and they're bursting, just like they're starting to burst here, real estate especially. So do you think that if it's a meltdown in Australia, it won't impact here or hit here within a couple of weeks, months, or whatever, to where the Fed will need to respond to the issues that's coming its way here from Australia or the ECB or Italy or wherever else?
Let me put it this way.
Yeah.
As long as the U.S. don't lower interest rates, everything's going to go steady. Because everybody else is going to lower, and the U.S. is going to keep theirs the same, and everybody else is going to need those dollars. Once the U.S. say, okay, we're going to lower interest rates, guess who's behind them? China. Guess who's behind them? Turkey. Everybody else dropped their interest rates. So why would I want to lower my interest rates when I'm the king of the castle?
Yeah. Good point, man. Well, hey, Tony, we will see. But in the meantime, as a part of this monetary experiment, as I did a video earlier, bet against the Fed, and more importantly, get your weight up as always.
Get your weight up, brother. Keep your head up, Mike.
All right, my friend. I appreciate you.
Bye.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Good stuff as always. It's good to go back and forth, get other people's thoughts on what's going on. And that's the thing, like, not even being 100% sure on how it's going to play out. If we use history as a lesson and as a teacher, we know the only thing that would happen they will respond with more currency, which dilutes, the purchasing power of the currency that you're holding on to, save and expect and everything else to grow. Yeah, it's going to be problematic. Very problematic. What else we got going on? It says we got bigger words than the economy. Peter, speak to me. What do you mean? We're headed to the Stone Age. It says Australia is linked to Asia 100%. And in forums, the guy says, Spirit King agree, but some great ideas for preparing food, scarce electricity costs, so trade colleges for relocation and rebuilding communities. 2-day walk away from hunger person. Yeah, man, that's what it is. But what we're looking at time-wise, we're approaching our 40-minute point, and so I think we covered a variety of subjects this evening. As always, it's good to hang out with everybody, and I appreciate you guys for sharing your thoughts and being active in the chat. For those that have enjoyed the back and forth, don't be afraid to donate a thumbs up to the channel. Just hit that little thumbs up button right beneath this video here. Show your support and love, and if you found anything informative, feel free to share this video so people can find out what's happening. And other than that, looking forward to bringing you more interviews and videos. I got an interview tomorrow with a gentleman that I'm going to try to post it tomorrow. It should be very entertaining. And we'll keep things rolling. Other than that, if you guys hear about any stories or anything out there in the news that is worthy of bringing to the community, I like to post articles either on the community section in the YouTube page or over on Facebook in the Facebook page. So other than that, you can find news stories throughout the day there if you guys are wanting to know what's happening around the world when I can put it out there. But other than that, be blessed, be safe, and I will see you guys later. Peace.